Okay. I'll just follow your
We are
lead.
live with Rabin. Mitchell is founder, president, CEO at A Better World Foundation and A Better World Media. He does promotions and strategic partnership. He's in New York and yeah, has a very interesting background with planetary health, sustainability, and well-being. So we're going to talk about this background today and everything that he's went through because he's been running this business for the past 30 years now. Bookwritegpt.com is presenting this podcast. If you want a book written out of your LinkedIn post in less than 5 minutes, you can go to bookwritegpt.com. The first credit is on me. Mitchell, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Oh, sure. A pleasure to meet you, Charles. Very interesting podcast you have here. I listened to one of them where you were being interviewed. And since I'm used to doing the interviewing, well, I'll let you off the hook this time, but maybe in the future. Oh, my God. This may be a way of starting this conversation that will be different probably for most of yours and your audience. A number of years ago, I was receiving an astrology reading from a woman who is actually a very talented astrologer. And she said, Mitch, when I look at your chart, I see something that I've never seen before. You look like you're an entire planet, but it's a fragmented planet. So, what appear to be many different areas of life that you're involved in, professionally and personally, it actually makes sense because you're like Humpty Dumpty, seeking to put everything back together again. Something that's been fragmented needs to be resystematized and made coherent again. And so she said, now I understand why you're in the fields of psychology, acupuncture, stress management, social impact, entrepreneurship, media. It all now makes sense. So anyway, I'm just saying that to you because even when I play tennis and paddle tennis, Charles, they say, where are you? I said, I'm everywhere. I'm behind you. I'm in front of you. Just know you can count on me to be getting the ball if you miss it. Anyway, I'm just having some fun with you, but that's a way of looking at the world. I watch what's going on like you are at all of the different activities that are happening, some very beautiful and constructive, some that are horribly destructive and dehumanizing. And we find our way through this morass, this labyrinth, if you will, and bring our skills to bear as best we can in as many situations as we can so we can be effective and successful. I believe in A Better World's motto are a few, and I'll just show those with you. One is do well by doing good. It's very much our heartfelt mission. And people and planet before profit. And we very much love profit. Making money is a wonderful thing. And we need it, as you were saying earlier, in our world. It's a money driven economy and planet. No problem. But when you make it and you're hurting people, you're causing more harm. And I believe in the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. So if you bring together business consciously and conscientiously, you can have an incredible world, make tons of money, and do a lot of good for the world at the same time.
And do you believe most billionaire, for example, do more good than they do harm?
Well, that's kind of a good but general question. And if you got more specific, I could answer more specifically. But generally speaking, probably not. I think that there's a lot of harm being done by the billionaire class, and it's not necessarily overt. It's behind the scenes. And, it's in the ditches, so to speak, in the trenches where a lot of that's happening. I mean, for instance, take Amazon. I love Amazon. I love the convenience. I love the ease. I love the fact that they have amassed and aggregated so much together under one simple platform. They've made it very user friendly, but there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes where people at the facilities are being worked to the bone. They're not paid well. They protest and the unions are broken up, et cetera, et cetera. You know this, I know this, the world knows it. So there's an example.
Right, but I don't think it's Amazon's fault necessarily. I think, especially with Trump wanting to bring back labor in the US, Amazon's already doing that and contributing greatly to the economy. I think AI is about to slash a bunch of jobs, and I think these
Yeah.
people, instead of protesting, they should be starting their own business, right? Taking the
Oh,
bit of capital that Amazon pays them, invest them to start their own ventures. So they're in reality they're not really protesting against Amazon. They're protesting against themselves and their own mediocrity.
whoa, that's a big statement.
It
I think
is.
that's a little strong, but I understand where you're coming from. I think that what they make, it would be really hard to turn that into a business, but doable. And many of them don't have that entrepreneurial spirit. And we should be grateful to people, honestly, who want jobs like that, who are not necessarily entrepreneurial like you and I are. Otherwise, the competition for us would be insane, and everybody would just be out there promoting their own business and not working for anybody else. We need people in the trenches who are willing to work. Like, think about Con Edison, think about the utility companies, think about the telephone companies. I mean, if everybody wanted to be a star in their own movie, and that means having their own company, who's going to be doing the administration and for the companies
AIs.
that are needed?
Yeah, AIs would be doing that on the short term. I think
Oh,
competition's even better because the consumer gets a better product, and I think it also diminishes the sizes of corporation, which is very good.
yeah.
Corporations do ruin the world, most of them. I don't think necessarily like all billionaires, but corporations. What are they made out of? A bunch of old people investing in companies, passively investing, and just caring about profits and not really caring
Yeah.
about the planet or the well-being of people. I think that is ruining the
Yeah.
world as it is. I
Yeah.
think corporations are very toxic. So yeah, I do
That's
think that.
interesting.
I also think that they won't have a choice. I think their chances of success in the AI age, because Amazon's going to replace and is already replacing with bots, their chances of keeping that job is 0%. Their chance of being successful as entrepreneurs in this AI future is 10%. I do believe that like most are gonna have freelancer type of jobs in the future. Maybe have a platform that will redistribute them contracts and so forth.
Mhm.
But yet, I think that at least they do have a small chance of making it as entrepreneurs in the AI age. What do you think?
I mean, we're generalizing right now hugely, and there's a certain amount of accuracy in what we're discussing between ourselves, but there's also, by definition, any generalization has a built-in level of inaccuracy and imprecision. So, I think overall, the role that you're positing AI is going to be playing is largely accurate. I think that we would be naive to think that AI is some kind of big answer. I actually think that, like you say, corporations are toxic. I found that a very interesting comment, and the old men running them and investing
That's also
passively.
true. Like it's not
Yeah, no, no,
100% true, but it's like 85% true. Like
yeah,
we know
no.
that.
Je suis d'accord. Acuerdo. I think that there's a lot of truth in what you're saying there. I also think there's a lot of truth in acknowledging the dangers of AI, and there are many. And we have to just tiptoe. Let me put it that way. A lot of it has to do, Charles, I think, with people's moral character and what I refer to as emotional intelligence. And it's not high. Our technological advancements and intellectual advancements, if you will, are extremely high on one hand, and our emotional and moral intelligence is too low to match the level of technology. Anyway, I'll just put it that way. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, another interesting point. Yeah, I do believe in EQ on the client side of things, right? Like I deal with high performers, I deal with people similar to me. But when I did have employees 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I let go of all of them, 200 of them, and I replaced them with AIs.
Oh
And
my.
EQ with them wasn't really applicable because themselves had low EQ, they had low expectations for themselves, and I
What
just
kind of
couldn't.
company was it?
It was an agency. It still is, by the way. It's called the Top Leads. It's my go-to-market agency. And yeah, there was customer success agents in there. There were copywriters. There were researchers. Right. There were chief of staff, COOs, name it. I replaced all of that with AIs. That was 3 years ago, and only 6 weeks ago have I started seeing companies doing the same in this market. So that this revolution is like fully on right now. But my question to you is, yeah, what's really EQ about? Because I've shown EQ with my team. I think I was a great leader. I was kind and everything, but at the end of the day, was killing me from the inside to sort of lower my standards and to like talk about their new Gen Z crisis, right? Like on a daily basis when I have my shit to deal with together as a founder and a CEO. So that kind of EQ, I'm not too on board with that. EQ when it comes to understanding people's emotion at some level and people I agree with that share similar values to me. Yes, as a business context, right? And business is money. I'm not saying that if I cross someone in the street, I'll be a dick, like I think I'm a pretty nice guy. But yeah, what do you think about that kind of EQ? Because right now, my AIs don't require me for any to show any type of EQ. They just follow what I have to say with no BS, low friction, zero energy output on my end, almost no emotional turmoil, right? They just do as I say business wise. So I don't need EQ with them. What do you think about that?
Wow.
That was loaded.
That's loaded. That's huge. And it's got lots of interesting points, but also a few landmines. Um, you know, I, I can appreciate the role and value of robots in some contexts, just so you understand. I think AI has a very real role. I think that when I refer to EQ, I'm referring to the people who are sort of in charge of them and developing the algos in the first place. Because after all of our technology is a reflection of our own human level of intelligence, right? All of our intelligence levels. So it's just not a black and white thing. So we could likely agree that there are some jobs that are boring and tedious as hell, and human beings really
And
don't want to do it.
dangerous.
And what?
And dangerous. Some of
And
them are quite
dangerous.
dangerous.
Absolutely. And the idea, I'm not that I want to go down on the Trump, downward spiral as far as I'm concerned, but um, the idea that you're going to be bringing jobs back to the United States. Who was it the other day? Bill Maher or someone was saying, yeah, let's bring, all of the Foxconn employees from China and bring them back here so they can
Great
put in
idea.
Americans putting in little screws into iPhones. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think it should happen. And then you kick the migrants out, and who's going to be who's going to be picking the tomatoes in the fields? So the whole thing is so illogical. And then throw in tariffs just to really make a stew. You're
Get
screwing up.
something radioactive.
Yeah, exactly. You're dealing with a global economy. How to destroy a global economy in 10 easy steps. That's what I see us on the trajectory of right now.
Yeah.
AI factors into that. So I'm for specified, particularized use of AI, and I think it could be an incredible value. I use it in some of my podcasts and my YouTube. I use it to grab titles that, look, I've been doing it for many years. I was doing podcasts before the word podcast existed. All right. So
Was called radio back then.
Exactly. And I was on radio and all of it. I'm still on community TV in New York City in Manhattan every Monday night. So I've been in this space for a long while. Um, so I use ChatGPT, for instance, not a lot, but I use it some, and I use it for doing some mathematical things and looking at stocks and stuff like that to help me figure out how much I made, what's the percentage, so I have a lot of fun with it, and I think it has a lot of utility. But the research shows, and Mr. Hinton, who's one of the godfathers of, what I'm talking about, who worked for Google, who quit because he couldn't speak openly about what he perceived as the dangers of AI. So he gave up a God knows how much money he was making there for how many years just to speak the truth. And I think it's incumbent upon us, Charles, to listen. That's what. It doesn't mean throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That would be foolish. But to bring in emotional intelligence. So now I'm going to just go back and unpack a little bit of what you said about working with your 200 employees, and you felt that you were lowering your level. So look, from the wisdom traditions of our world, East and West, there are what are called virtues. And dang, they are hard to develop and hard to abide by. Honestly, right? We all know that. And one of the worst is patience. We don't have any patience. We don't have attention. We don't have enough kindness. We don't have enough compassion, and we don't have enough love. But I'm telling you, I feel, and it's part of the mission of a better world, to bring these things to bear in the business world. It does not have to be cutthroat. It can be cooperative instead of competitive to the same extent that it is today. And I think we will make more money and have more fun. And the other thing is this, if I may throw this in, that money is not God. Money is not the be all end all. And you actually said it well at the beginning of this podcast, which is that you want to change the world in ways that you see it needs to be changed. I do too. Moi aussi. However, people have made money their God. And when you do that, you are, well, in Yiddish, we have a wonderful word, stupt. It means you're screwed. Pardon my French. So when you honor and respect others and oneself and Earth, you're just going to get a better outcome. Just going to get it.
I agree. And you're pretty sure you would be referring to Elon in some of these ways, sort of lack of EQ and needless lashing out. I think Elon just has such a hard life that he needs to externalize this energy at some point. Maybe some therapy, maybe some psilocybin.
That's very understanding of you.
Right.
I agree with you.
But a lot of people in this life don't even respect themselves. So how can we respect them? Like these lower level employees that I was talking to you about. I mean, I've tried to help them. Most of them have I think I've impacted their life positively or installed the value of entrepreneurship, which I do think should be in everyone, right? Which is just ultimately seeking independence, seeking freedom, and contributing to this beautiful market, right? This economy, adding value to it. Which is a beautiful invention in itself. Some abuse of that, like probably 5-10% at the top, right? And then we start getting diminishing returns, like people that are just ill mentally and are just over consuming, right? Like they have a relentless need. You put a Lamborghini in their driveway, they'll want to have 15 for some fucking reason. Right. Maybe they could resell them. But at some point, it's just like diminishing returns in terms of happiness. You get on that hedonic treadmill and so forth. Now, coming to the government, I do think, for example, some positive points about what's happening.
Wait a minute. Let me interrupt you for 1 second. Since you brought up Elon, and we're talking about, and I know one of your favorite subjects is AI. Do you know what just happened? So Elon, Trump and Elon Musk fired the head of the Copyright Office in the United States. That means that all of your and my and many millions of others' creative activity, both in business and technology and pure music and art, is now, in a sense, copyable through AI activity. And that means copyrights and patents even are challenged by the new AI robot that eats everything for lunch and dinner.
I think that's good. I'm gonna take the devil's advocate here. I mean,
Oh, good.
whatever. Yeah, I think Elon and Trump are mostly out of line nowadays, like 80%. But I'm not a believer in copyright, and I think
Oh,
if it is to feed Elon's personal email, because that guy's quite Machiavellic, that's
yeah.
pretty bad. But if all AIs can just scrape it, I mean, it's mostly good for the market. It's bad for people that have invested in patents for sure. But that's a patents are construction,
What's
right?
that
Like,
percentage? Of all the
um,
companies that you have encountered over the course of many years, how many of them are based on patents
a
or
lot, like
copyright? That's
80%, 90%. But I think
exactly,
like newcomers
exactly.
like me and the bunch of new gens, they're very like open source. So they just share everything that they do most of the time. You can check Llama, for example, which is open source and all of that. I think
Uh-huh.
that would bring massive progress in the market if AIs can just scrape that, make scientific discoveries. My opinion on that, and it's the same like people shitting on China all the time. Oh, they just copy paste their stuff. Okay, it's not fair, but business is not fair itself, right? And it's about not only getting the best ideas. I love copy pasting and improving stuff on my end. I do
Hmm.
it all the time with my competition. I run deep search on them. By the way, I cooperate and compete. Both
Yes.
don't have to
Yes.
be exclusive, right? So I
Yes.
love
Right.
that because I think it will propel innovation. Obviously, I do think that if I would have, I don't know, like $2 or $5 million in patent, I would be very pissed. Mostly at myself, right? Not at these guys, because in the end, you're always responsible for your own stuff. At least that's my philosophy. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I have to say that the whole open source idea is a really fascinating one from the larger point of view that we're discussing. It's true. And the idea of patents and copyrights are much more sort of siloed ideas and exclusivity and all of that. I happen to be largely in that game, in business. It happens that buddies of mine have innovated some incredible technologies, and I'm part of those companies. They're mainly in the green eco space as well as health and wellness. And the thought that our patents would all of a sudden not be worth anything because of the whole idea of open source is really scary and pitiful, and we would lose a ton of money. So I am not for just a black and white decision made by anybody about that. You cannot, and this is one of the problems I'm having with this administration altogether. You, government waste is a serious thing. Everybody wants efficiency. It's a bloated government. Everybody knows that, and most are. There's a systematic, logical, gentler, more gradual, and more effective way of shifting to a greater efficiency. And that is exactly the opposite of what's going on right now, to the extent that they've had to hire back people who they've already alienated, including people who are watching the nuclear technology of our country. I mean, of the people who are running the air traffic controls. I mean, it's madness. These guys are out of their minds, and it's scary. And I feel the same way about just taking the axe to patents. I
Right.
just feel I think it's horrible, and so many people will lose their livelihoods. And I don't think it's smart. If you want to take time and gradually introduce what you're sort of referring to, the open source paradigm, I think that's really interesting. I would not throw that out, but it has to be done with a gentle touch. That's my
Right.
thought.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it should be a gentler transition, everything public. Like Elon is not dealing with tech first consumers, right? He's dealing with a country, with a bunch of people that do
Yeah.
not move quick. So
Right.
he needs to understand his ICP better. I'm not sure why he still thinks like firing abruptly people like that is like it works so well. Like if it has mostly
Yeah.
failed at X and Twitter, it may have
Right.
worked at Tesla. SpaceX was his own as Tesla too, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's certainly interesting. I think they're like one major PR disaster away from like upheaval. Him
Yeah.
and
I think
Trump,
you're right. I
I'm
think
quite
you're right.
surprised that Trump survived that long. I mean, the man's yeah, he's a workhorse, right? Like he has top stamina. He doesn't have much brain, but he has like the balls as well, which is quite important. But the
Yeah.
thing is, when you're president, you need to be really full stack, and he doesn't have the full stack.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he
That's a
doesn't have.
nice way of putting it. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think privatization of government is certainly interesting. I think people that can run businesses well can be successful at running governments, but they need large periods of adaptation. Elon's been doing that for a couple of months now, so maybe he'll get good at it. Who knows? Like depending on how quick he progresses, but it's definitely more on the social side of things. And so far the moves that he's made, I mean, yeah, he would probably call out that this is first level thinking, but we've seen a lot of his move like personally benefit himself, right? And
Yes.
it's like if he's doing that out in the obvious out there, so it's a bit odd, a
Exactly.
bit
It is
weird.
so obvious, as well as with Trump with the crypto meme coin. I mean, it's we've never seen, and we're about to watch one of the greatest transfer of wealth from the middle class and the lower classes to the billionaire class. Here we go
Yeah.
again.
Oh yeah.
With these tax. I mean, he did it in his first administration. Many of us were horrified, and now he wants to make those tax cuts permanent. I mean,
Right.
to me, it's a complete disaster. And I feel like he's destroying the very fabric of this government and this country. And look what he did to Canada. I mean, what a horror show. Anyway, I don't want to go down that track. It's very upsetting, and that doesn't say, by the way, that there aren't a couple of little breadcrumb good things that he has done also. So it's just one of those things. It's not purely black and white. But
I'm
it's
very much of a technologist, though. I think we should his performance should be tracked scientifically. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of organisms doing it, but
yeah,
vs other governments. The thing is, it's so complex to evaluate a prime minister, right? They could be doing everything wrong. They could have PR saying that everything
yeah,
they did is right. Trump is
right,
a master at PR, by the way.
yeah,
He's excellent at it.
yeah,
Probably like top
true,
10 in full US at PR,
yeah,
manipulating the medias, which is a
the
bad thing,
skill,
but good thing in business.
the skill.
So yeah, let's see how that roll. I think I've talked extensively about that on this podcast, and generally speaking, is like people from Cali and New York, like they're very much opposed. And then you go down in Austin and Florida, you got a different picture up there, and yeah, it's very interesting because it's very much separated America, and his quote unquote attack on Canada, I think it unified Canada into one, right? And
Yes,
my native Quebec generally were separatists,
yes,
or
I know.
there is some of that, and think nowadays, yeah, the people are way more unified. So yeah, want to ask like, what's next for you? Like, what do you have on your goals list for this
Oh,
year?
sure, absolutely.
You're
If I
muted,
could
by the
just,
way. I can't hear you for some reason.
you cannot hear me.
Just try to reconnect this
Oh, sure.
real quick.
I've been speaking into the same microphone.
Maybe on my end.
Maybe
Try
it's my
to
surveillance camera.
speak again.
Hello, hello,
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, it's on
bonjour,
my side. Sorry.
hola, todo
Salut.
el mundo.
Yeah, yeah. So
All
yeah,
right.
what's on your calendar for this year?
if
What's next?
if you don't mind, I will gladly share. I'm thinking as I'm listening to you talk, and we were talking about the slashing and burning that's been taking place in this country, and there are other leaders around the world who are going to be impersonating and have been impersonating what goes on here. That's been going on for hundreds of years. And similarly, what's going on here in this administration are clearly following in the footsteps and the playbook of people like Erdogan and Orban. And I'm going to stop there. But
Hitler.
You said it, I didn't. But yes, exactly.
It's
It's
really
just
obvious. It's like, yeah, it's again,
you're right.
it's pretty
It's
obvious.
obvious as day. Exactly. So, just to say, one of the a big thing, Charles, that is missing in the way all of this is going down is there is a loss of human dignity. And I think that's utterly appalling. And they are actually deporting US citizens. We have several examples. We don't have to go into details. But not only that, but we now have a new pope just as recently as a few weeks ago. And whether someone is Catholic or Jewish or Buddhist or Sufi, it doesn't matter. What matters is that he stands for the virtues that I was referring to earlier, that we both agree about, that are human, far beyond culture, far beyond religion or anything like that. And at the heart of it is human dignity. And why does that have to be cast aside? I think that's a tragedy. And we will be paying for it as a nation and as a planet over time. And factor in the loss of jobs and all of that, and the loss of dignity and identity that the massive presence of AI quickly would provide. So, all right, now I'll get to your question. But I wanted to just put that on the record, so to speak, because I think it's really, really important. People, not everybody's after money. Not a lot of people in the United States, like in all those other places other than New York and California, but including, we want happiness, we want health, we want well-being, we want enjoyment. We want to be able to celebrate family. We want to be engaged in things like sports and fun. Life is a big, big game, and if we limit it to just profit, boy, we missed the game. Actually, we missed the game. We got blinded only by one of the many scores. Anyway, that said, on a level of a better world, we are working diligently at supporting and facilitating. And I advise, CEOs of a couple of startup companies that I feel are poised to make a difference. One of them is called CarePoint Solutions, and we're just launching now SAS, a software program that will reduce what are called iatrogenic fatalities. That means doctor originated, hospital originated fatalities, because they make massive mistakes all over the hospital industry. And we have a software that keeps track of things in a way that has never been seen before. And we have statistics that show the implementation of what we've got will vastly reduce fatalities and errors inside labs and inside, medical facilities. So that's one trajectory. I'm on the board of directors, one trajectory of what we've got going. Another that A Better World is involved in is something called Blue Power Systems. And it's a renewable. And so this is something that, well, I was excited at the thought that Elon might find it interesting. We were using one of his battery systems in our earlier iterations, used battery systems from his cars that crashed, and because they're powerful. But now we're on to another generation, and we're working with Mitsubishi right now, and we've taken some really beautiful steps. We've got a renewable energy individual autonomous power plant is the best way to put it. Some people use the word microgrid, but what it really is an individual and sovereign power plant. As you know, you are clearly someone who cares about freedom. You said it before, and that means autonomy, and that means sovereignty. But if you look, in some way, we're all slaves to the utilities. Just to run this computer that is allowing us to have this conversation, we have to pay a bill every month. And if they decide to raise that cost, well, we're subject to it. What if everyone, just like they have their own refrigerator and their own washing machine and their own dishwasher, they had their own source of power? And that's what that's what we have. And that's what we're working on. And we're pushing forward like mad. The last thing I'll mention right now is a good friend of mine and I are developing a wellness center and an eco-friendly real estate development in Costa Rica near the Panama border. And we're looking for, a few $1,000,000 to move it to the next level. We have the land already. It's gorgeous. It has 8 waterfalls. And we're looking for some smart people who will appreciate the use of things like entheogens, or AKA plant medicine, for medicinal purposes, for therapeutic purposes, for actual personal and spiritual development. So these are the kinds of things A Better World has its fingers in and is looking to develop, as well as, of course, the podcasts have been going since March of 1993. Maybe a lot of your listeners weren't even born then. I wasn't. No, I'm
I was
kidding.
born that year.
I started when I was 6. What?
I was born that year, 93. So yeah, the
I
Echo
started when
Center
I was 6.
definitely.
So now you know how old I am.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the Echo Center, I'm definitely gonna visit and be a customer. Gonna check on the investment side if I can
Oh,
find
sure.
some people's. Not sure how profitable these are, but yeah, let's keep touch. I
Absolutely.
think it's
I'd
super
love to.
interesting what you've been up to, and yeah, your points of views and the virtues. Virtues are pretty much my centerpiece, right? Virtues is
Yeah.
excellence. It's very high performance because it's incredibly difficult to maintain all of these virtues all at once and to tell your brain, oh, this
Yes,
is
it
who I
is.
want to be. I shouldn't like gut react to that, for example. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
striving to improve these on a daily basis. Where can people find out more about you, Mitchell?
Absolutely, Charles. My website, www.abetterworld.net. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube, A Better World TV show. I've got almost 800 podcasts there. Um, and I'm just beginning. I actually have another 1,000 to 1,500 that are waiting to be edited. So if you know anyone who is wants to be an intern for A Better World, we're a nonprofit. It's totally welcome, and we're always looking for some investment dollars in these various projects or solar projects. I also work on solar projects up to utility scale. So all over the country, so we can move off the renewable and I'm sorry, the fossil fuel paradigm onto a renewable platform, which I think will be to our collective benefit. So
Love that. Well, that